How to know how many lives you have lived. 9 signs of reincarnation. The soul never thinks without a picture. Aristotle. Have you ever met someone for the first time and felt like you've known them forever? Or picked up a new skill as if you'd mastered it long ago? These are more than coincidences. They could be echoes from a life you've lived before. In today's video on spiritual wisdom, we'll explore 9 powerful signs that may reveal how many lives your soul has experienced. But more importantly, this isn't just about curiosity. It's about using that knowledge to deepen your self-awareness and evolve in the present moment. As you watch, ask yourself, what memories might my soul be carrying? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's grow together on this sacred journey. 1. Intense and frequent déjà vu. Déjà vu is often misunderstood as nothing more than a mental hiccup, a momentary brain glitch. But for those on a spiritual path, its intensity suggests something far more profound. When these moments strike, when you feel like you've been in a place you've never visited, or lived a moment that technically hasn't happened, they can stir something deep within you. It's not just a flicker of recognition. It's a soul-level knowing. You don't just remember with your mind. You remember with your entire being. The sensation can feel like walking into a memory that isn't yours in this lifetime, yet feels unmistakably real. Your heart rate shifts, your breath pauses, and there's a subtle inner pull as if something ancient within you is waking up. These are not ordinary sensations. These are soul memories. You might be standing in a crowd and suddenly feel a wave of familiarity, not with the people, but with the feeling of being there, as if your soul has returned to a scene it once knew. Unlike dreams that fade or thoughts that pass, this kind of déjà vu often carries emotional weight. It can feel comforting or unsettling, beautiful or eerie. But what marks it most is its vividness. The stronger the emotion and detail you feel, the more likely you're tapping into a memory from a previous incarnation. And that's where the understanding of reincarnation becomes essential. These aren't accidents of the mind. They are evidence that your consciousness has lived beyond this single life, and that it is still connected to experiences far older than your current name or form. Some may experience this through people meeting someone for the first time, but instantly feeling like you've known them forever. There's no explanation for the comfort, the bond, the magnetism. Words aren't necessary because the energy speaks louder. It's not about love at first sight. It's about recognition at first soul glance. In other cases, it could be a language, a smell, or even a historical event that brings tears to your eyes, even if you've never read about it before. These unexplained emotional responses are not coincidences. They are remnants of past lives trying to break through the veil of forgetfulness. Reincarnation teaches us that time is not linear, and that the soul gathers wisdom and imprints across many lifetimes. So when déjà vu enters your awareness, it may be the soul's way of handing you a thread, one that connects you to the fabric of who you have always been. It's not fantasy, it's spiritual physics. Energy never dies. It only transforms. Your experiences are recorded in your soul's blueprint, and déjà vu is when one of those old blueprints temporarily overlays the present moment. If you listen closely, these flashes are not just strange moments to be dismissed. They are invitations, clues, reminders. In a world that tells you to define yourself by your current status, role, or achievements, déjà vu whispers something timeless. You are not just this body. You are not just this name. You have lived before, and your soul remembers. If you've ever felt a wave of intense déjà vu that tugs at your soul, not just your mind, you're not alone. Comment, I believe it's a soul memory if this resonates with you. Or, I think it's just the brain if you see it differently. Let's open the conversation. 2. Instant connections with people or places. Some connections defy logic. You meet someone for the very first time, and yet your heart skips the introductions it just knows. There's no awkwardness, no small talk, just a strange, sacred ease, as if your souls have been waiting to meet again. This kind of instant bond isn't about physical attraction or shared interests. It's something deeper, something older. These are soul reunions, echoes from another lifetime where your spirits already danced, fought, or loved. When you meet again in this life, time bends. The connection feels effortless and unexplainably powerful, like continuing a story that never really ended. This same phenomenon doesn't just happen with people, it happens with places too. You walk into a town, step onto a stone path, or sit beside a body of water, and a flood of peace washes over you. You feel strangely at home, like you've walked those streets or heard those winds before. That feeling isn't fantasy, it's your soul remembering. It's your energy recognizing a vibration it once merged with, long before this body, this name, or this lifetime. Elena, a 32-year-old woman from Chicago, had never been outside the United States. But when she visited an old temple in Kyoto, Japan, she was overwhelmed by emotion. She couldn't understand the language or history, but her body reacted and she cried without knowing why. That night, she dreamed in vivid detail of a life she never lived. Rituals, names, even grief. Her conscious mind didn't have the answers, but her soul did. These moments are not fiction. They are spiritual whispers of who we once were. You might find that, with certain people, you fall into rhythm, as if no time has passed. You speak the same thoughts. You sense each other's moods. You know what they'll say before they say it. These aren't coincidences. They are signs of shared timelines, past lives overlapping into the now. And when it happens, you don't need years to build trust. The safety, the depth that's already there, carved into your spiritual memory. Yet not all instant connections are pleasant. Some feel magnetic, but are full of conflict, confusion, or pain. These are soul contracts, relationships meant to resolve unfinished lessons from lifetimes before. You may be drawn to them, not because they are right, but because they are familiar. And that familiarity is meant to wake you up, challenge you, heal you, or free you. Your soul remembers more than your mind can comprehend. It recognizes energy. It knows the hands that once held it. It remembers the earth that once carried its weight. So when you feel something unexplainable, don't dismiss it. These are not random emotional spikes. They are spiritual signals, invitations to remember, to reconnect with the layers of yourself that transcend time. Everything you are drawn to in this life is a clue to the many paths you've walked before. Pay attention to what stirs your spirit. The people, the places, the feelings that pull you without reason, they are the footprints of your reincarnated journey, guiding you toward deeper truth, unfinished healing, and spiritual alignment. Have you ever felt instantly connected to someone or someplace? Comment below. My soul remembers if you've experienced these timeless reunions. 3. Natural wisdom or talents. Some children don't just play, they compose. Some don't just doodle, they create detailed portraits with no guidance. And some speak not like kids, but like philosophers trapped in tiny bodies. These abilities don't arise out of nowhere. They are not simply coincidences, nor are they always the result of exceptional parenting or early exposure. They are clues that the soul has walked this earth before. Clues that somewhere in the unseen fabric of time, your spirit once lived, learned, and mastered a craft, and now it's remembering. This phenomenon is often described as natural wisdom or innate talent, but in truth, it may be something much deeper, a memory echoing through lifetimes. When you find yourself unusually good at something you've never studied, it's worth asking, where did this come from? That ease, that fluency, that instinct, it might be the result of accumulated experience across many lives. Reincarnation doesn't always show itself in dramatic past life flashbacks. Sometimes it's far more subtle. It slips through in the way your hands move across piano keys like they've done it 1,000 times before, or the way you understand people without needing words. The soul, unlike the mind, doesn't forget. It stores impressions, lessons, gifts, even traumas. And sometimes, when the conditions are right, these soul memories surface as seemingly unexplainable abilities. That's why a young girl may feel instantly drawn to healing others, or a boy instinctively knows how to lead and protect. It's not about what they've learned here, but what they've carried over. Talent, in this case, becomes spiritual evidence, a quiet testimony of the journeys your soul has already taken. Even adults experience this. You meet a new skill, and yet it feels old. You start a craft and feel like you've returned home. That sense of, I've done this before, is not just a feeling, it may be real. Your soul, infinite in its nature, may be guiding you back to your purpose by revealing past life strengths in your present life. The universe does not waste experience. What you built, refined, and mastered in one life continues as spiritual residue in the next. To ignore these signs is to ignore the compass of your own evolution. When a gift flows through you effortlessly, it's often a reminder that your journey is bigger than one lifetime. You were not born empty. You were born ancient. And sometimes, your greatest wisdom isn't what you've learned, it's what you've remembered. Are you one of those souls born with ancient wisdom or talents beyond your years? If this resonates with you, comment below. I remember my gift to honor the wisdom your soul still carries. 4. Spontaneous memories or vivid dreams. Spontaneous memories or vivid dreams often arrive without warning, fleeting moments in sleep, or deep stillness that feel more like remembering than imagining. You see yourself in a different body, in an unfamiliar place, living a life that isn't yours yet somehow. It feels deeply personal. These dreams aren't random mental projections. They carry emotional weight, rich textures, and the kind of clarity that normal dreams don't possess. Often, they unfold in places you've never physically visited, but you recognize every detail. You feel the weather, the texture of the walls, the emotional dynamics of people who don't exist in your current life. These are soul impressions, fragments of memory that transcend this incarnation. Sometimes these memories don't even wait for sleep. They emerge during waking hours through déjà vu or sudden emotional surges triggered by ordinary experiences. A scent, a sound, a place can ignite a memory you've never lived but feel deeply. Maybe you pass an old cathedral in a city you've never visited, and your eyes well up with emotion you can't explain. Or perhaps you feel an irrational fear of water fire, or heights, rooted in an event that never happened in this lifetime. These aren't coincidences. They are energetic residues from previous lives, proof that the soul carries memory, even when the mind does not. Many people experience recurring dreams involving specific locations or individuals they've never known in this lifetime. These dreams often come with a heavy emotional charge, longing, grief, deep connection, or even a sense of responsibility. You may find yourself dreaming repeatedly of fleeing danger, speaking in a foreign tongue, or finding sanctuary in ancient temples. Each dream becomes a thread in a larger tapestry your soul is weaving, gently revealing chapters of its long journey through time. Children are often the clearest conduits for these past life memories. Before the conditioning of logic and social norms sets in, they speak freely about other parents, distant lands, and events far beyond their current age or knowledge. Some may describe their death in a previous life with astonishing detail, or identify places and people they've never seen. These spontaneous recollections are the soul's raw voice, honest, unfiltered, and powerful. As we grow older, those memories are pushed beneath layers of rationality, but they don't disappear. They simply wait for the right moment to re-emerge. During spiritual awakening, the veil begins to thin. You start noticing connections between your dreams, emotional patterns, and the larger questions about your existence. Your vibration rises, and with it, your sensitivity to subtle energies. This is when spontaneous memories intensify, becoming invitations to explore your spirituality and reconnect with your true essence. The soul starts revealing its ancient wounds and victories, asking for integration, healing, and remembrance. These glimpses are not just personal. They are spiritual clues that you have lived before, loved before, and possibly left something unfinished that now calls for your attention. In the language of energy, nothing is ever lost. Everything is stored, waiting to be retrieved. The law of attraction plays a quiet but powerful role in this. As you evolve, you begin to attract exactly what you need to remember. These memories don't return randomly. They surface when you're spiritually ready. That's when manifestation becomes deeper than visualizing material things. It becomes a process of summoning your soul's truth. The dream isn't just a dream. It's a signal. It's your soul reminding you of what it still carries, what it still seeks, and what it has always known. If you've ever felt a dream or memory that seemed more real than this life, it may be your soul remembering. If you believe this message is meant for you, repeat after me. These memories are sacred. I receive them with trust, knowing they are guiding me. 5. Fears or phobias without cause. Unexplained fears, whether it's the terror of deep water, the panic on high places, or the dread of confined spaces, often go far beyond logic. These phobias can feel like irrational overreactions, especially when nothing in your present life explains them. But the truth is, some fears may be echoes of a trauma your soul has carried from another lifetime. While your conscious mind doesn't recall the experience, your body still remembers. The trembling hands, the racing heart, the overwhelming urge to escape it all points to a deeper memory that lives beneath the surface of awareness. Take the example of a woman who's never experienced a drowning incident, yet avoids lakes and pools with intense fear. Or the man who's never been trapped, yet panics in elevators or small rooms. These reactions don't stem from the present. They often reflect unresolved energies imprinted on the soul from the past. According to spiritual wisdom, Your soul holds onto certain imprints from one life to the next, especially those involving sudden trauma, fear, or loss. And these imprints can manifest as instinctive, seemingly irrational fears that you just can't shake. Your body's reactions are not failures, they are signals. When your nervous system goes into overdrive without cause, it may be because your soul remembers a danger it once faced. These aren't just feelings to suppress or medicate away. They are messages deeply encoded into your energetic being, asking to be heard, honored, and healed. And through healing, these fears can become doorways to deeper self-knowledge and soul integration. Many people who explore past life regression discover startling connections between their present phobias and their previous lifetimes. A fear of heights might trace back to a fall in a previous incarnation. A fear of being buried alive might be linked to a lifetime that ended in war or disaster. Even modern therapy is beginning to acknowledge the powerful effect of subconscious memory, and spiritual healing expands this awareness into the timeless journey of the soul. These fears are not random, nor are they punishments. They are invitations. They invite you to explore your past, not with fear, but with curiosity. To see your phobias not as obstacles, but as remnants of a story that's still unfolding. You're not broken. You're remembering. You're reconnecting with pieces of yourself, long hidden beneath the veil of time. By working through these deep emotional imprints, through practices like meditation, conscious breathing, journaling, or energy work, you begin to reclaim lost parts of your power. You don't have to know exactly what happened in the past to release it. What matters is your willingness to feel, to listen, and to shift the energy that still lingers. Every unexplained fear is a trail of breadcrumbs leading you home. Not to your house or your name, but to your soul. And with each layer you peel back, you're reminded that your life is not the first page in your story. It's just the latest chapter. If you've ever felt a fear that makes no logical sense, you're not alone, and your soul might remember what your mind has forgotten. If this message resonates with you, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share your experience in the comments below. Let's heal and release it together. 6. Fascination with specific cultures or time periods. There are moments in life when you stumble upon a piece of history, a photograph, a melody, or even a scent, and suddenly you're overcome with a strange emotion that has no explanation. It's not just curiosity. It's as if something ancient within you has been awakened. You may find yourself inexplicably drawn to a specific culture or time period, as if it's a part of your story, even though you've never lived it in this life. This deep emotional attachment to an era, be it ancient Egypt, the Victorian Age, or tribal Africa, feels almost sacred. It touches something so real and familiar inside you that logic falls short. That resonance isn't accidental. It's the echo of memory, one that doesn't belong to your body, but to your soul. Many people experience this recognition without understanding it. It might be sparked by watching a documentary, walking through an old temple, or hearing a traditional instrument you've never heard before. Suddenly, you're moved to tears. Something within you knows the sound, the place, the story. This is what we call soul recognition, a gentle but undeniable reminder that you may have lived during those times. Your emotional reaction is not imagined, it's remembered. Science may not yet have language for it, but many spiritual paths understand that your consciousness is layered, While your current identity may be limited to this lifetime, your soul carries impressions from previous incarnations. These impressions can surface as irrational longings, unexplained preferences, or powerful emotional responses. They rise like whispers from another time, guiding you back to who you've always been beneath the surface of your present self. The deeper truth is that your soul doesn't forget. Even if your mind has no recollection, your energetic field holds everything your loves, your losses, your roles, your rituals. That's why people sometimes discover they have a deep passion for ancient scripts, foreign languages, or specific symbols without ever studying them. There's a familiarity there that defies logic. It's not learning, it's remembering. You weren't imagining it when you felt chills walking into that ancient cathedral. You weren't overreacting when your heart broke while reading a tragedy from a distant empire. And you certainly weren't fantasizing when you knew the layout of a historical city you'd never visited. The soul speaks in emotion, in symbols, in subtle awakenings that can't be dismissed by reason alone. This connection to past cultures can also carry a sense of mission. It's as if your soul has returned to continue something that was unfinished. That's why some people feel a calling to preserve certain traditions, fight for forgotten truths, or honor the wisdom of ancient civilizations. They're not just students of history, they're participants in it. So when you feel that pull toward a time, a place, a people, don't ignore it. It may very well be your soul leading you to the fragments of your truth scattered across lifetimes. And through that recognition, you may find pieces of your purpose in this one. If you've ever felt drawn to a place or time you've never lived in, your soul may be remembering. If you believe and are ready to receive it, repeat after me. This connection is not random, my soul remembers. I trust the journey unfolding for me. 7. Feeling like an old soul. You always felt different, not in a way that made you feel superior, but in a way that made you feel ancient, as though you carried stories in your bones, echoes in your heart, and a kind of wisdom in your silence. While others around you chased the next trend, laughed over trivial things, or stayed consumed by surface-level drama, you watched. Not because you were cold, but because you simply didn't resonate with the noise. From a young age, you preferred solitude over popularity, reflection over distraction, and meaning over entertainment. You were not detached, you were deep. And that depth is not always born in this lifetime. Old souls don't just grow wise, they return wise. If you've always gravitated toward introspection, craved deep conversations that feel like soul excavations, and found comfort in the unseen and the unspoken, it's likely your soul remembers. You may have sat quietly in the company of many, feeling as if no one could quite see the real you, the version of you that transcends age, time, and identity. That's not alienation. That's reincarnation's whisper. It's your soul nudging you gently, reminding you that you've lived before, that your knowing wasn't taught, but remembered. This longing for meaning often shows up in your spiritual curiosity, not just as interest, but as recognition. When you hear truths about energy, consciousness, the law of attraction, or manifestation, you don't just believe, you resonate. These aren't ideas you're trying to accept. They're truths you feel like you already knew. Your soul isn't learning, it's waking up. You may find yourself drawn to the mysteries of life, why we're here, how energy shapes reality, or what exists beyond death. That pull isn't random. It's a result of lifetimes spent exploring, seeking, and evolving. You've likely felt older than your peers in more ways than one emotionally, spiritually, and even intellectually. While others sought applause, you sought alignment. While others performed for approval, you pursued a purpose. Your detachment from shallow conversations doesn't come from arrogance, but from the soul's exhaustion with repetition. You've lived through it all before the drama, the noise, the illusion. Now, you crave truth. And yet, in your depth, you've also known loneliness, because not everyone can walk with you into the places you're willing to go. Not everyone is ready to remember what your soul already knows. You've had to sit with silence and let it speak, let it teach. But even in isolation, you've always known. Your difference was never a curse. It was a sign, a spiritual signature, proof of many lives, many lessons, and many returns. To feel like an old soul is not a phase or personality trait. It's a spiritual inheritance, a sign that you've walked through lifetimes gathering wisdom, that you've been here before, and that you came back with a mission. The world may not always understand you, but deep inside, you know exactly who you are. And that knowing that unshakable truth is the loudest echo of your soul's eternal journey. If you've ever felt like an old soul navigating a world that doesn't quite match your depth, let us know you're still with us and comment, "I feel the wisdom within," below. Your words help us connect more deeply with souls like yours. 8. Recurring life patterns or lessons. Some emotional patterns feel strangely familiar, like déjà vu for the soul. You may find yourself falling into the same relationship dynamics over and over again, trusting too soon, getting hurt, being abandoned, or sacrificing your own needs to please others. At first, it might seem like coincidence or poor judgment, but when the pattern repeats across years, different people, and even different environments, it's not random. It's reincarnation at work. These aren't just emotional habits. They're soul lessons your spirit has yet to master. They come back not to punish you, but to be healed. Until they are faced, integrated, and resolved, they will return again and again through new faces, new places, and new circumstances. Spiritual wisdom teaches that the soul is a traveler through time, carrying emotional imprints and karmic memories across lifetimes. So when you're stuck in cycles of abandonment, betrayal, self-doubt, or rejection, these aren't just wounds from this lifetime. They may be echoes of unhealed traumas from lifetimes before where you weren't able to speak up, fight back, or walk away. Now, your soul is asking, will you finally learn what you were once too afraid to confront? Will you love yourself enough this time to choose differently? Take, for example, someone who constantly ends up in situations where they're undervalued at work, in friendships, in love. No matter how much effort they give, they feel unseen. This may not just be bad luck. It could be a recurring soul lesson to stop seeking external validation and remember their divine worth. The lesson is never about changing the world outside you. It's about evolving the world within you. And when you shift internally, the external reality must follow. The universe is patient. It doesn't rush your awakening. If you don't learn the lesson in this life, it will be lovingly reintroduced in the next. That's the grace of reincarnation. But the moment you recognize the pattern, truly recognize it, it begins to lose power over you. That's when you start writing a new story, not from fear or habit, but from consciousness and choice. As Carl Jung said, Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. What you call misfortune may actually be divine repetition, an invitation to evolve. You're not being tested, you're being taught. And every time the lesson returns, it carries the same message. You are ready now. Choose differently. Respond with awareness. Heal the wound at its root. These repeating emotional loops are sacred. They are not obstacles, they are assignments. And when you pass them, you don't just liberate yourself. You free your bloodline, your future lifetimes, and the collective energy field of those around you. You become a living testimony that healing is real, reincarnation is active, and spiritual wisdom is the path home. To affirm your commitment to breaking old cycles and embracing true growth, declare your intention. Comment below, I choose to learn and heal, to honor your soul's journey and encourage others to face their patterns with awareness and strength. 9. A deep inner search for meaning. There's a kind of emptiness that success can't fill, a restless stirring inside you. Even when everything in your life looks complete. You may have the job, the relationship, the stability, yet something deeper keeps tugging at your spirit. It's not dissatisfaction with life, it's a hunger for meaning. That quiet longing for something greater is one of the most profound signs your soul has walked this earth before. You're not just living this life, you're remembering. This inner yearning doesn't disappear, no matter how many goals you achieve or boxes you check. It follows you into quiet moments, whispers through sleepless nights, and reveals itself when you're surrounded by people, but still feel alone. You've probably tried to silence it by staying busy, by chasing the next achievement, but it always returns this subtle ache for something more timeless, more sacred. And that's because your soul has known deeper realms. It's carrying the echoes of lifetimes spent seeking, evolving, learning. You might have found yourself drawn to questions that others find too heavy or too strange. What's the purpose of suffering? Why do I feel things so deeply? Why do I feel older than my age? That isn't coincidence. It's spiritual memory trying to rise through your conscious mind. It's your soul nudging you toward your origin. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." That awakening begins with this hunger. It often leads you towards spiritual paths that seem unusual to others. Meditation, energy work, past life regression, or simply spending long hours in silence contemplating the meaning of it all. You might have tried to explain it before, but found words too limiting. That's because what you're experiencing goes beyond language. It's a remembering. A remembering of who you were, who you are, and who you're becoming. You're not just exploring spirituality, you're decoding your soul's blueprint from lifetimes ago. Even in childhood, this longing may have shown up. Maybe you looked at the stars and felt homesick for a place you couldn't name. Maybe you asked questions no one else around you could answer. Maybe you felt different, not better, just older, more tired, more sensitive, more aware. That sensitivity was not weakness. It was wisdom accumulated through many cycles of existence. And now, as you mature, the call grows louder, not for more things, but for more truth. This hunger eventually shifts your focus. The need to impress, to chase trends, to belong in places that drain you, it all begins to dissolve. You start letting go of superficial noise and gravitating toward peace, toward books that stir your soul, people who speak with depth, and environments that feel like sacred space. Your energy becomes more discerning, not out of judgment, but out of instinct. You're returning to yourself. What drives this longing is not confusion, it's clarity. It's your soul remembering what truly matters. You've lived before, and you came back, not to repeat, but to realign. The restlessness you feel is not a flaw, it's an invitation. Your soul is not lost, it's awakening. Remember, the journey of the soul is vast, mysterious, and often far older than we can imagine. The signs of reincarnation aren't just mystical ideas, they're spiritual breadcrumbs leading you back to your eternal truth. So if any of these 9 signs resonated with you, trust that your soul has walked many paths before this one, and each life has brought you closer to who you are meant to become. If you found value in today's message, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who's spiritually curious, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Make sure you turn on the notification bell so you never miss a chance to dive deeper into the wisdom of the soul. Your awakening is only just beginning. Carl Jung, 7 signs your spiritual awakening is over. It's time to use your powers. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Carl Jung. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where transformation begins from within. In today's video, we're diving deep into Carl Jung's profound insight and exploring 7 powerful signs that your spiritual awakening has ended and your true mission has begun. This is not just about awareness anymore. It's about activation. You've already opened your eyes to the deeper truths. Now it's time to use your spiritual gifts, walk in your purpose, and become the force of light you were meant to be. As you listen, ask yourself, are you living as the awakened soul you've become? Share your experience in the comments where you are on your journey. Let's inspire and learn from each other. Be sure to like, subscribe, and let's begin this next chapter of your spiritual evolution together. 1. You no longer feel separate from the universe. You no longer feel like a visitor in this universe. You remember that you are the universe, aware of itself. The illusion of being separate from life fades like a dream at dawn. Suddenly, everything feels connected. The breath in your lungs, the rhythm of your heart, the movement of the stars. You don't just believe in oneness, you live it. The old struggle to control and resist disappears, replaced by a deep inner trust, a quiet surrender. You no longer chase peace because you are peace. You don't fight the flow of life, you are the flow. The universe doesn't speak to you in riddles anymore. It speaks through you, as you. As Carl Jung once said, who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. And when you've truly awakened, you no longer feel like a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a single drop. The false sense of identity that once revolved around ego, status, and stories begins to dissolve. You no longer define yourself by your wounds, your accomplishments, or your roles. There's a stillness in you now, one that doesn't depend on what others think or say. You don't need to prove your worth because you've realized your existence is the proof. You start seeing everyone not as enemies or strangers, but as mirrors, reflections of the same source you come from. Even your pain becomes sacred because you understand it was the fire that melted the illusion. This shift doesn't make you passive. It awakens a different kind of power. Not the loud, forceful kind, but the grounded, magnetic kind. You can walk into chaos and remain calm. You can lose something and still feel whole. You stop asking the universe to give you signs, you become the sign. You're no longer waiting for a purpose, you realize you are the purpose. There's no longer a need to seek or chase. The seeker has vanished, and in its place stands someone who remembers. This is the moment Carl Jung described when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." But now, you don't move through life blindly. You move with awareness, intention, and grace. You begin to love differently too. Your love is no longer transactional or filled with expectations. It flows from a place of fullness, not lack. You love without clinging, give without needing, and speak without fearing how you'll be received. You live not to impress others, but to express the truth. And in that truth, you find freedom. You no longer need the world to tell you who you are. You've touched something eternal inside yourself. And once that happens, there's no going back. You realize that your presence alone shifts rooms, heals wounds, and awakens others, not because you're trying to, but because you're aligned. The line between you and life disappears. You are no longer in the universe. You are the universe, alive in human form. Have you ever felt one with the universe, as if you're not just living in it, but you are it? If so, share your experience in the comments below so others can feel that connection too. If not, comment, "I'm ready." And let's walk this path of unity and divine peace together. 2. Your intuition guides you without doubt. You fully trust your inner knowing now, and that changes everything. You don't need to explain it, prove it, or run it by someone else to make sure you're right. You just know. You no longer depend solely on logic, and you've stopped chasing external validation. Instead, you move with quiet certainty. Your spiritual intuition has sharpened to the point where it leads you with ease, not confusion. Decisions feel aligned before they make sense. You can sense energy, motives, and timing without needing evidence. And you've learned that this soul-based guidance is more reliable than anything the outside world can offer. The internal battle is over. You don't wrestle with doubt the way you used to. Your actions are no longer delayed by analysis, hesitation, or fear of judgment. You simply feel the truth and follow it. That is the mark of someone whose spiritual awakening is no longer a process, but a state of being. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." You've awakened. You don't live by reaction anymore, you live by alignment. When your soul speaks, you listen. And when it tells you to move, you move. You don't over-explain. You don't justify. You don't shrink. You act from a place of knowing that can't be taught, only remembered. You've stopped doubting your own energy, your own senses, your own path. When something feels wrong, you honor it, even if there's no clear reason. When something feels right, you follow it, even if no one else sees it. Your intuition has become your most trusted voice because it's the only voice that knows your path was never meant to be logical, it was meant to be true. This is the kind of spiritual power that doesn't seek attention but commands respect. You walk differently. You speak with less, but every word carries weight. You let your presence do the work because you no longer need to convince anyone of your direction. You're done waiting for confirmation. You are the confirmation. Your life flows more naturally now because you are no longer fighting against your own current. Everything you need comes easier, not because life is suddenly without struggle, but because your energy is no longer split. You're not searching, you're following. You're not hoping, you're trusting. And that trust is what transforms your spiritual wisdom into spiritual embodiment. This moment isn't about gaining new tools. It's about finally using the ones you already have. The lesson is simple but powerful. Your intuition is your soul speaking clearly. And when you stop ignoring it, you stop betraying yourself. Let it guide you, not occasionally, but always. Let it lead you through the noise, through the confusion, through the pressure to explain yourself. You are not here to be understood. You are here to understand yourself so deeply that nothing external can shake you. That's what happens when your spiritual awakening is over. You don't become louder. You become clearer. Comment below. I trust my inner guidance. If you're ready to follow your intuition without hesitation and let your soul lead the way. 3. Material desires no longer control you. You are no longer ruled by money, status, or the endless chase for recognition, because something in you has awakened something deeper than ambition. You've outgrown the hunger for validation and the illusion that power or wealth can define your worth. True wealth now means something entirely different. It is the peace that comes from knowing who you are, the purpose that fuels your every action, and the alignment of your soul with something greater than yourself. You no longer chase things out of emptiness because you've realized that fulfillment was never outside of you. It was always within. The world hasn't changed, but your lens has. You don't deny abundance. You just don't worship it. You don't reject success. You simply no longer let it define your identity. What drives you now is not greed, but growth. Not image, but essence. Not applause, but alignment. You've shifted from grasping to receiving, from controlling to allowing, and this shift is where your power begins. The man you've become knows that money is a tool, not a measure of value. He sees through the noise of social status and recognizes that character, integrity, and spiritual presence matter far more. Where once you measured your worth by comparison, you now measure it by connection to your values, your truth, your soul. And in this quiet confidence, abundance begins to flow toward you, not because you're forcing it, but because your energy is clean, your intentions are pure, and your presence is magnetic. You no longer seek to prove yourself because you already know your worth. You don't hustle to be seen because you are rooted in being. You don't need constant reassurance because you are led by inner certainty, not external noise. And this is the paradox of power. When your soul is in command, everything you once chased begins to come to you. There is a calm determination in the way you move now, a clarity in your focus, a discipline in your desires. Your energy no longer scatters toward temporary highs. It gathers around what is real, lasting, and true. The people around you sense it. They see that you are no longer a man in pursuit. You are a man in possession of himself. And that presence, that stillness, that depth creates ripple effects. The universe responds when a soul becomes unshakable. Opportunities arrive, not because you're desperate, but because you're prepared. People trust you, not because you're loud, but because you're anchored. You walk into rooms and shift the atmosphere not by trying, but by being. Your life becomes a mirror of the internal harmony you've cultivated. You've stopped living from the surface and started living from the soul. And as you continue to walk this path, you will notice something even greater. Your desires will purify. The need for more will be replaced by the desire to serve. The thirst for validation will be replaced by the joy of contribution. You will stop asking, "What can I get?" and begin asking, "What can I give?" Because when your soul takes the lead, your entire life becomes an offering, an expression of something eternal. And in this sacred space, material desires become tools, not chains, symbols, not shackles. You are free, not because you have nothing, but because nothing has you. Stay connected with our community of spiritual growth by subscribing to our channel. Here, we share powerful reminders that true abundance begins within, beyond money, titles, or material gain. Remember, you are already whole, guided by purpose, and aligned with a higher calling. Let peace be your wealth. 4. You've embraced solitude and found peace. Silence no longer feels like absence. It feels like presence. You've stopped trying to escape yourself because your own energy has become enough. The stillness that once made you restless now feels like home, like sacred ground where your soul breathes freely. You no longer reach for noise or distraction to fill the void, because the void is no longer empty. It's alive with meaning, with memory, with presence. This isn't isolation, it's revelation. You've uncovered the truth that Carl Jung spoke of when he said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." And now, because you can communicate with your soul, you are no longer lonely. In this silence, you've built a relationship with yourself so intimate, so unshakable, that the world can no longer pull you away from your core. You've stopped begging to be seen. You've stopped negotiating for space. You've stopped apologizing for your depth. Your own company is enough, because your soul is no longer starving, it's full. You've become fiercely protective of your energy. You no longer tolerate relationships that drain you, distract you, or keep you small. You feel it instantly who is adding to your light and who is dimming it. And without drama, without explanation, you step back, because your peace is no longer up for debate. This is the natural result of inner work, of walking through fire and coming out as gold. Carl Jung believed that real healing involves confronting the shadow and integrating the parts of ourselves that we once rejected. And that's exactly what you've done. You're not perfect, but you're whole. You're not performing anymore. You're present. And from this wholeness, you've stopped attracting chaos. You've stopped chasing people who reflect your wounds. You now move only with what mirrors your healing, your expansion, your truth. In this sacred solitude, you've become magnetic, not because you seek attention, but because your energy is clean. Because you've remembered who you are, others are drawn to you without understanding why. You've dropped the mask, the act, the roles you used to play for love and validation. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Your being is enough. Your presence speaks louder than your words ever could. You've become the calm in the storm, the clarity in the confusion, the soul that no longer needs to explain itself. Carl Jung taught that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And now, you are living that truth. Not trying, not pretending, just being. And that is where your power begins. Do you feel the power of your own presence? If this message speaks to your soul, declare it in the comments. I've found peace in my solitude. And if this resonates, like the video, subscribe, and join us for more spiritual wisdom each week. 5. People are naturally drawn to your light. You no longer chase the light because you've become it. Your presence radiates something that words cannot fully describe. A calm force, a grounded energy, a silent knowing that others feel the moment they step into your field. People are naturally drawn to you, not because you ask for attention, but because your spiritual energy speaks louder than words. You have become a mirror, and in your presence, others glimpse parts of themselves they've long buried or forgotten. You're no longer seeking healers or guides outside of you, because you've stepped into that very role quietly, humbly, and powerfully. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." And you, having looked deep within, are now a living embodiment of what others are still searching for. Your pain has become wisdom, your wounds have become medicine, and your journey has carved a stillness in you that feels like home to the restless souls who cross your path. You don't need to prove your growth. Your very energy makes people pause, breathe deeper, and open up without knowing why. They feel safe around you because you are safe within yourself. This is the mark of someone whose spiritual awakening has gone beyond theory and into embodiment. You no longer just talk about healing, you radiate the evidence of it. You don't need to fix others because you understand the power of presence, and your presence alone becomes a catalyst for others to remember their own light. You are the person you used to wish would show up when you were lost. You're the voice of calm, the frequency of truth, the lighthouse that doesn't chase ships, it just shines and lets those who are ready find their way. This magnetic quality is not about being special, it's about being real. It's the quiet power of someone who has walked through the fire and no longer fears the flame. Others recognize that you've seen darkness and survived it, and something in them trusts you for it. They sense that you don't have hidden agendas, that your words come from lived experience, not performance. And that's why they're drawn to you. Not because you wear spiritual labels or use fancy language, but because your energy carries the vibration of peace, truth, and alignment. You've chosen wholeness over perfection, and that wholeness makes people feel safe enough to be imperfect in your presence. This is what happens when your spiritual awakening is complete. You stop performing and start embodying. The search ends, and the becoming begins. The external seeking dissolves, and you become a quiet magnet for those still finding their way. Not because you preach, but because you exist in a frequency that others want to rise into. The lesson is this: real spiritual power is not loud, it is felt. It does not demand, it invites. You've become the embodiment of the healing, the light, and the truth you once chased. And now, without effort, you are leading others home, not by force, but by being exactly who you are. If this message resonates with your soul, let your light be known in the comments. I am a beacon of healing and truth. I attract those I am meant to help. 6. You see through deception and illusion. You no longer just look, you see. You see through the carefully crafted illusions of society, the hollow smiles, the manipulated headlines, the polished lies dressed as truth. Your soul no longer reacts with confusion or fear, because now you recognize the game. The masks are obvious. The scripts are predictable. You feel the falseness in your gut before a word is even spoken. This isn't paranoia, it's perception. It's the deep clarity that only comes when a man has suffered enough to strip away everything that isn't real. And now that you've tasted the truth, there's no going back. The fear tactics don't touch you. The guilt traps don't hold you. The chaos doesn't shake you. You've trained your nervous system to remain calm in the face of noise because you've come to understand that most of what the world calls urgent is actually just distraction dressed in drama. You move differently now. You don't argue to prove you're right. You don't explain your boundaries. You don't need applause to feel valuable. Instead, you walk with quiet certainty because your power comes from within, not from performance. You don't chase conversations. You don't beg to be seen. You are seen by those who matter because your energy speaks before your mouth does. This is what happens when your soul matures beyond the need for external confirmation. You're not being cold, you're being clear. You've shed the layers that once made you easy to manipulate, and now you live with spiritual precision. You can spot manipulation without needing evidence. You can feel someone's energy shift before they even betray you. Your discernment is your armor, not because you live in fear, but because you finally live in truth. And with that truth comes a calm that confuses people. You're not rushing, not reacting, not trying to control. You're observing, you're choosing, you're responding with intention. You don't need to announce your wisdom, it's felt. You don't need to argue with deception. It reveals itself in your presence. You've become the mirror that shows people who they really are. And some can't handle that reflection. But that's not your concern anymore. You've outgrown the role of the seeker. You've stopped trying to find yourself in broken systems and shallow relationships. You've realized that what you were looking for was never out there. It was always in your soul, waiting for you to remember. And now that you've remembered, now that you know, you walk as a man who no longer needs to search. You walk as a man who is. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom that helps you see through the noise, trust your discernment, and live aligned with truth, not illusion. 7. You feel an unshakable call to fulfill your mission. There's a force rising within you now that no longer allows you to remain still, no longer tolerates passivity or delay. It's an undeniable call from the soul, and it will not wait. This isn't confusion, it's clarity in disguise. You were not made to observe from the edges of life. You were born to participate, to shift energies, to heal what's broken, and to guide others home to themselves, not through loud declarations, but through quiet embodiment. The ache you feel is sacred. It's not restlessness, it's divine momentum. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." And right now, your heart is no longer whispering. It is commanding you to act. Every part of you knows that you've been prepared for something larger than yourself. You're not here to repeat patterns. You're here to break them. And the truth is, you no longer belong in the phase of waiting. The version of you that searched for signs has already evolved. You've crossed that invisible line that separates the seeker from the teacher, the wanderer from the guide. The spiritual awakening you've gone through wasn't the end of the path. It was the doorway. You've stepped through it. The illusions you once clung to have dissolved. You now see through the noise. You feel the shift in people before they speak. You sense the truth before it's revealed. That's not something to question. That's a power to embrace. As Carl Jung emphasized, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And you are now standing at that threshold, not to contemplate, to become. Because the world doesn't need another seeker. It needs a soul who's embodied their knowing and is willing to live it out loud. This is why distractions no longer hold your attention. They've lost their taste. You can't numb yourself with what used to work because your soul no longer permits you to go unconscious. You are wide awake, and that awareness is sacred. You weren't made for a life of small talk and shallow waters. You were made to navigate depth, to feel things most people can't handle, and to lead others through terrain they've never dared to explore. That level of spiritual sensitivity is not a burden. It's a gift. The pull you feel to act now, to create, to speak, to serve, is because you've been trusted with something divine. Your gifts are not random. Your timing is not accidental. You are the one someone else is praying for. So if you feel that pressure building inside you, that sense that something big is about to be born through you, know this. It's not anxiety, it's alignment. The call to step forward won't wait for perfect conditions. It won't wait for applause. It only asks that you say yes, that you honor the fire that's been quietly preparing you for years. This is not a season of becoming. This is a season of being. You are no longer waiting for your power. You are the power. Now live like it. To affirm your devotion to the mission that stirs your soul, declare it with courage. Comment below. I answer the call to stand boldly in your purpose and remind others that their time is now too. As you continue this journey beyond awakening, remember this is no longer about seeking. It's about becoming. Your power is not something you need to find. It's something you now must use. The world needs awakened souls who no longer doubt, who no longer wait, but who choose to embody the wisdom they carry. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And make sure to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos that guide your spiritual evolution. Your journey is just beginning, and we'll be here with you every step of the way.